I took the bus 3 hours just to drop off home-cooked meals for them. My daughter-in-law opened the door and said, "Stop trying to force your traditions on us. We don't eat that." My son laughed and closed the door. I sat at the station in the rain holding that food. But what I did with the recipes after that. My name is Elena. I'm 64 years old and I live alone in a small house on the south side of Youngstown, Ohio. My son, Daniel, used to live with me until he moved out 6 years ago. Things between us were good for most of his life. We were close. He used to say I was his favorite person. He loved my cooking. He used to beg me to teach him how to make tostines when he was little. He would sit on the counter while I mashed green plantains and fried them up. It was our thing. Now, I can't even get him to answer the phone sometimes. Everything changed when Amanda came into the picture. He met her in college down in Columbus. First time he brought her home, she didn't say much to me. She kept checking her phone while I was trying to serve her food. She barely touched the plate. I asked her if something was wrong, and she said, "I'm just not used to this kind of food." That should have been enough. I should have known. But I told myself to be patient. Maybe she was shy. Maybe she just needed time to adjust. I kept smiling. Kept cooking. Kept trying. After they got married, I saw Daniel less and less. They didn't invite me to help with the wedding. Amanda's family handled everything. They said they wanted something simple. I wasn't even asked to cook for the reception. I sat there in a plain folding chair, watching strangers eat cold catered chicken while my son didn't look me in the eye. Still, I didn't say anything. I stayed quiet. After they moved to Dublin, a suburb outside Columbus, I made a promise to myself. I told myself I'd stay part of their life, even if it meant I had to be the one doing all the work. So I did. I started making food every month. I'd wake up early, cook all morning, wrap the meals carefully, and take the bus 3 hours just to bring it to them. I didn't have a car. I didn't have anyone to drive me. So I carried it myself, in my arms, in a big cloth bag lined with towels and hot packs. My knees would be sore for 2 days after, but I did it. Because that's what moms do. They didn't ask me to. I know that. But I thought maybe it would remind Daniel where he came from. I thought maybe Amanda would try harder if she saw me trying. The first couple times I showed up, Amanda would answer the door with this look on her face, like I was a stranger who showed up uninvited. She never let me inside for long. Sometimes she wouldn't even take the food. Said she was trying to eat clean. Said Daniel was doing intermittent fasting now. I didn't understand what any of that meant, but I smiled and nodded. Then came the Sunday that broke me. I woke up at 4:30 a.m. My hands were stiff, but I still made pernil, arroz con gandules, and fried empanadas filled with beef and potatoes. I even made pastels by hand. That takes hours. It's not easy. But I did it anyway. All for them. I wrapped everything up tight, made sure nothing would spill, and took the first bus out. The weather was awful, windy, cold, wet. I had to walk a few blocks after I got off the last transfer. My shoes were soaked. When I rang their bell, Amanda answered the door. She didn't say hello. She didn't smile. She looked down at the bag I was holding and said, "Seriously? Stop trying to force your traditions on us. We don't eat that." I didn't know what to say. I just stood there. Then I heard Daniel behind her. He was laughing. Not a little chuckle. A full-on laugh. "Ma," he said, leaning over her shoulder. "Come on. You don't have to keep doing this. Just chill, okay?" Then he closed the door. They closed the door on me. On everything I cooked, everything I carried, everything I am. I didn't have the energy to move right away. I walked slowly to the bus station and sat down on a bench with the bag in my lap. I waited 4 hours for the next ride home. It started raining harder. Nobody talked to me. Nobody asked if I was okay. I didn't cry, not even then. When I got home, I put the food on the counter and sat at my kitchen table in silence. Then something clicked in me. I didn't want to beg anymore. I didn't want to chase after people who saw me as a burden. I thought about my mother. She used to say, "Don't hand your recipes to someone who spits on your hands." So I didn't. I gave them to someone else. I called the local community center the next morning and asked if they needed help with hot meals. They said yes. I started small. Just Thursdays. Then Sundays. Then Tuesdays too. I brought trays of food, homemade, everything fresh. At first, only a few people showed up. But word spread. Some of them hadn't tasted food like that in years. One woman cried when she saw the pastelin. She said it smelled like her mom's kitchen in San Juan. I held her hand while she ate. People started calling me Mama E. I printed out recipes and put them next to the trays. I made copies by hand. At night, I would sit at the table and write them out. Each recipe had a memory. One was about the first time Daniel said MMM after tasting arroz con leche. Another was about how my abuela used to fry pork with her eyes closed because she said she could smell when it was ready. Kids came to the center asking if I could teach them how to cook. So I did. I taught them how to peel plantains, how to make sofrito, how to fry with care. I told them that food isn't just food, it's memory. It's love. It's home. A woman from the local newspaper came to the center one day. She wrote an article about what I was doing. Called it The Healing Kitchen. They put a photo of me stirring a giant pot of arroz con gandules on the front page. My hands were shaking in the picture, but I was smiling. Then came the food blogger. Then the local TV news. Then someone from the Food Heritage Institute in Cleveland reached out. They said they wanted to archive my recipes as part of a cultural preservation project. I didn't know people cared that much. They asked if I could write my recipes down properly, so I did. I sat down for weeks typing them on my old laptop. I added photos, stories, names. I talked about my mother, my son, my grandmother, and our kitchen that always smelled like garlic and oil. They published it online. Thousands of people downloaded it. I started getting letters from people all over the country. One woman from Texas sent me a video of her kids dancing while cooking one of my dishes. A man from New Jersey said his class used my recipes to teach students about Puerto Rican culture. My food, the food that was too much for Amanda, was feeding strangers all across the country. Then, out of nowhere, last Thanksgiving, I heard a knock on my door. It was Daniel and Amanda. They looked different. Smaller somehow. Amanda didn't have that look on her face anymore. She looked tired. "We saw the stories," Daniel said. "The book. The videos." I didn't say anything. Amanda stepped forward and said, "We didn't realize what we were walking away from. We were stupid." Daniel nodded. I was stupid. They stood there waiting. "We were hoping," Amanda said, "you might be willing to share the recipes. Like the pastelin one." I remember liking that. I didn't smile. I didn't invite them in. I walked to my kitchen and came back with a printed copy of the recipe book. I handed it to Daniel and said, "You want the recipes? Here. But don't just cook them because it's trendy now. This is family. This is blood. You respect it, or you leave it alone." He nodded. Amanda held the book like it was glass. Then they left. And I didn't look back. After that Thanksgiving, I didn't expect much to change. Daniel didn't call. Amanda didn't write. They had their copy of my recipe book, and I figured they'd forget about it after a few weeks. Maybe use it once to impress some guests, then toss it on a shelf. I was wrong. 2 months later, a woman named Teresa from the center came up to me while I was setting up trays of arroz con pollo. "Hey," she said, frowning. "Have you seen this?" She handed me her phone. There was a photo of Amanda on Instagram. She was wearing an apron and standing in front of a clean, white kitchen island. On the counter were neatly plated versions of pastelón, pernil, and maduros. I knew those dishes. They looked exactly like mine. Right down to the garnish. The caption read, "Bringing culture into the modern kitchen." So excited to share our new recipe journey. Follow us for more. The account had a name, Heritage Fork. The logo was a fork wrapped in a ribbon that looked suspiciously like the Puerto Rican flag. My stomach dropped. I clicked the next photo. Daniel was there too, holding a fork and smiling at the camera. Family recipes passed down with love. Clean, reimagined, and perfect for your modern lifestyle. I sat down. I couldn't feel my legs. They weren't just cooking the food. They were selling it. I called Daniel. Straight to voicemail. I messaged him on Facebook. No reply. I messaged Amanda. Nothing. That same week, I saw they had launched a website. They were offering downloadable meal plans, branded spice blends, and even a cookbook. Not mine. Theirs. A watered-down, healthier version of my food. They used different names, tweaked the ingredients slightly, and called it fusion. But I knew what it was. It was mine. I found a video they posted on YouTube. Amanda stood in front of the camera talking about rediscovering culture through food. She never said my name. Never mentioned where the recipes came from. Not once. She did say something, though, that burned straight through my chest. She said, "We started this journey after realizing that some traditions can be improved with the right mindset." I almost dropped the phone. I went to the center that night, even though it wasn't my usual day. I just needed to cook. I needed to move my hands, to remind myself that this was real, not something that could be stolen or rebranded. The kitchen was empty, but I turned on the lights and started prepping onions and garlic. I didn't even know what I was making. Then I heard the door open behind me. It was Mr. Rico, one of the older volunteers. He saw me and came over. "You okay, Elena?" he asked. I told him everything. The bus rides. The door slammed in my face. The recipes. The fake Instagram posts. Everything. He didn't interrupt. Just listened. Then he said something I didn't expect. "Why don't you fight back?" I looked at him. He nodded. "You have the truth. You have the story. They have followers. But you have people. Real people." That night, I made a choice. I wasn't going to stay quiet anymore. The next morning, I called Teresa's nephew, Julio. He was a videographer. I told him I wanted to make a video. Not a cooking demo. A real story. I wanted people to know the truth. He came that weekend with a camera and a mic. I sat at my kitchen table, the same one where I raised Daniel, and I told everything. I showed the original recipe cards. I showed pictures of Daniel as a child in the kitchen. I told them about the center. About how I started from pain and turned it into something good. I cried once, when I talked about sitting at that bus station with the food in my lap. But I didn't stop. We posted the video on YouTube and Facebook. It didn't go viral overnight. But it started to spread. The comments came in fast. "This is the real story. This woman is a treasure. That other page stole everything. Unbelievable. I used her recipes at my wedding." People shared their own memories. Their own moms and grandmothers and the dishes that made them who they are. People were angry. Not just for me, but for every person who'd ever been told their culture was too much. The next week, Heritage Fork's comment section was flooded. People started asking, "Did you get these recipes from Mama Elena? Why didn't you credit her? Why are you selling her culture without mentioning her name?" Amanda turned off the comments. Then she turned off the whole Instagram page. Daniel called me 3 days later. He didn't sound angry. Just quiet. "Ma," he said. "We messed up." I didn't say anything. He kept talking. Amanda thought we could make something out of it, and I didn't stop her. I should have. I didn't think people would notice. But they did. They keep sending us your video. They keep asking why we lied. I waited. "We're shutting it down," he said. "All of it. The site, the cookbook, everything." Still, I didn't speak. I just wanted to feel connected again. I thought if we made it our own, maybe we could fix it. I finally said, "You can't fix something by erasing the person who built it." He didn't argue. Then he said something that surprised me. "Can I come home?" When Daniel asked if he could come home, I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know what he meant. Did he want to visit? Stay for dinner? Or was he asking to come back into my life after walking out of it for so long? "I don't know what you mean," I said. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I need to get away from Amanda. Things aren't good." That got my attention. "She's angry," he said. "She blames me for everything falling apart. She says I didn't protect the brand. That I let you humiliate her in public." I almost laughed. Humiliate? I didn't even say her name. I told the truth. "She says I have to fix it," he continued. "Or else she's done." That's when I realized he wasn't coming to me because he missed me. He was running from the fire he helped start. "She used my recipes and acted like I was the one holding her back," I said. "She used me, Daniel. And you let her." "I know," he said. "I was stupid. I just wanted to make her happy." "And what about me?" I asked. "Did you want me to be happy too?" He didn't answer. "I'm not your shelter, Daniel," I said. "Not anymore." We hung up without making any plans. A few days later, something strange happened. I got an email from a man named Kyle Dawson. Said he was a producer for a cooking competition show called American Family Table. He'd seen the video Julio posted and wanted to talk. At first I thought it was a scam, but Julio confirmed it was real. Kyle had worked on some big projects. He said they were putting together a special heritage food season, and they wanted me to come on as a guest judge and share my story. Me. A judge. On national television. I wasn't sure. I was nervous. I didn't like lights or cameras. But then he said something that got me. "We want to show people that real food doesn't need reinvention. It needs respect." That was it. I agreed. They flew me out to Chicago for filming. Paid for everything. Treated me like a queen. I wore my old kitchen apron from the center, stains and all. I told the story just like I'd told it online, simple, real, nothing fancy. I tasted food from young chefs who reminded me of Daniel when he was little, curious, wide-eyed, eager to prove something. After the taping, a woman from the production team pulled me aside. "You should write a full book," she said. "Not just recipes. The whole story. Your life. The culture. The betrayal. Everything." I said I'd think about it. When I got back home, Daniel was waiting on my porch. He looked worn down. He was holding a duffel bag and a small box. "I moved out," he said. I didn't ask for details. I opened the door. He sat at the kitchen table like he used to. Looked around like it was the first time seeing the place again. The old photos, the spice rack, the chipped cutting board. He opened the box he brought. Inside were printed copies of the cookbook Amanda tried to sell. "I want to help you," he said. "Fix this. Do it right. Credit you. Give everything back to the community." I looked at him. Really looked at him. "You can't undo it all, Daniel," I said. "But you can start by listening." He nodded. "It's been slow. He's been quiet. He volunteers with me at the center now, but he doesn't try to be in charge. He watches. He peels potatoes. He lets the elders correct him when he chops things too fast." The twist? Amanda wasn't done. Last week, I got a letter. Certified mail. From her lawyer. She's filing a claim. Says my public comments damaged her brand and caused emotional distress. She's demanding I take down the video. That I stop using certain recipe names she says are now trademarked. She's trying to own the names of my food. Daniel was furious. Said he'd handle it. Said he had proof the recipes came from me and that Amanda signed away her share of the cookbook rights when they incorporated under his name. But I wasn't surprised. I told him that's what people do when they don't have roots. They try to steal someone else's and plant them in their own yard. The good news? People aren't on her side. Not anymore. But something tells me Amanda isn't finished. And neither am I. The letter from Amanda's lawyer shook me at first, but I didn't panic. I read it twice, then put it aside. I wasn't afraid of her anymore. I called Julio and showed him the letter. He read it, then laughed and said, "She's trying to sue you over food that she stole? She really thinks she can trademark recipes from your childhood?" Still, we took it seriously. Julio helped me find a lawyer through the community center, a woman named Ms. Rivera. She was sharp, young, and didn't play games. I gave her everything I had. The handwritten recipe cards, the original video, the dates of every meal I cooked at the center. Photos. Notes. Even a thank you card from a state senator who'd visited our kitchen. Ms. Rivera filed a counterclaim within a week. Then we went public. Julio posted a new video. I sat in my kitchen again, but this time I had my lawyer with me. We read the letter out loud. I told people the truth, again. Calm, steady, honest. Then Ms. Rivera spoke directly to the camera and explained that Amanda's claims were legally weak and culturally disgusting. People were furious. Not just the community. The entire internet turned on Amanda. More food bloggers started calling her out by name. Cultural groups blasted her for trying to take ownership of traditional meals. People who had supported her brand dropped her. Even the Food Heritage Institute issued a statement publicly defending me. Sponsors pulled out. Followers unfollowed. Restaurants that had quietly worked with Amanda stopped answering her emails. Her brand, Heritage Fork, fell apart in less than 3 weeks. But karma wasn't done yet. One morning, I got another knock on my door. It was Daniel. He looked worse than ever. Pale, shaky, and holding a manila envelope. "She's suing me now," he said. "For breach of contract, loss of business, defamation. She says I chose sides." I took the envelope and sat down. Inside were copies of texts, emails, receipts. Everything that proved Amanda used my recipes, photos, and words without permission. Everything that showed Daniel tried to stop her near the end, and she threatened to ruin him if he walked away. I stared at the papers for a long time. "Do you want me to help you?" I asked. He looked at me like a little boy again. "Please, Ma," he said. And I did help. But not in the way he expected. The community center held a fundraiser dinner 2 weeks later. We had over 200 guests. Local reporters came. Even a regional news channel showed up. I took the mic that night. I told my full story again, but this time I didn't hold back. I named Amanda. I read from the cease and desist letter. I showed photos side by side, her Instagram posts next to my decades-old recipe cards. Then I handed the mic to Daniel. He shook like a leaf. "I stood by and watched her take from my mother," he said, voice trembling. "I helped her build a business on stolen family history. I was too weak to stop it. I chose comfort over truth. I hurt the one person who never stopped loving me." There was silence in the room. Then applause. Some people stood up. Others cried. It didn't fix everything. But it started something. Amanda filed one last desperate claim. But she didn't expect what happened next. Turns out, she'd lied on her own business filings, about the ownership of the content, about who created what. She listed false copyrights. Claimed recipes were invented by her when the metadata on her files showed she downloaded them straight from my digital cookbook. She even lifted entire paragraphs from my personal stories and pasted them onto her website. That's called fraud. Ms. Rivera didn't just defend me, she filed criminal complaints and brought in the state attorney's office. Amanda was investigated for intellectual property theft, business fraud, and false claims. Her assets were frozen. Her lawyer dropped her. Her website was shut down permanently. She tried to rebrand under another name months later. Didn't work. No one trusted her anymore. She went from influencer to a walking scandal. She lost her job, her reputation, and, last I heard, she moved back to Pittsburgh to live with her mother. Karma doesn't always knock. Sometimes it kicks the whole damn door down. And Daniel? He stayed. He helped me every week at the center. He didn't ask for praise. He didn't try to make up for everything overnight. But he worked hard. He showed up. I didn't forgive him right away. But one night, as we cleaned up after a busy meal service, he put on an old salsa song and started dancing with the mop. I laughed for the first time in a long time. We were healing. Slowly. Honestly. Now, the recipe book is being turned into a published memoir. Real printing. Hardcover. I get emails from schools and libraries asking for copies. My picture's going to be on the back. Me, in my apron, standing in front of my stove, holding a wooden spoon. I never asked for revenge. I just wanted respect. But I got both. Amanda lost everything she built on lies. Daniel got a second chance, but had to face the shame first. And me? I got my name back. I got my story back. I got our food back. And I made sure the whole world knew, you don't throw away tradition. You feed it. You protect it. You pass it on.